week, and really looking forward to it. Also excited to play such a quality opponent in Toledo. So we'll have to play good and prepare well. So exciting week.
You're still playing the waiting game with Xavier Peters?
Yeah, I mean, he's out right now until someone tells me different.
Do you have to, like, call them and knock on their door to get
No, no. There's a lot of things that we, had to get in order as well, and information we had to get from Florida State, and they have to do parts. So it takes some time to get it all in.
Hype for him right now, but if he were eligible, would he be ready to play right now? Mark or Brad said last week he had 3 outside linebackers.
Well, yeah, it would be hard for him at this point, but just because the time he's been here. As you know, he'd be he's second year in college, redshirt freshman, and for him to be totally new in our system, takes some time. And you've heard me say it a bunch of times about that position. It's most definitely a different position. It takes there's a lot of nuances to playing outside linebacker and standing up on your feet. So, it'll take some time.
Mark, this being the first game of the year, nobody's played any ball, relatively speaking. So, how do you prepare for Toledo? What is it? Is there anything you might be able to, or is there anything that may have impressed you based on what you have seen from what they did last year?
Well, without a doubt. That's why I say it's good for us to play an opponent like Toledo. And because they're a very good football program, they're used to winning football games. They're well coached. They have two quarterbacks that are coming back with good experience, that are good players, and so we'll have to play very good. If you watch the MAC, you got to have great respect for the MAC because they're always very well coached. They're not going to beat themselves. I tell our team often early in the year. We need to play aggressive. We need to play to win, but you can't beat anybody until you don't beat yourself. And I think if you watch some of the football that's played early, you see a lot of that. And we as coaches try to offset that as much as possible with camp and putting them in a lot of pressure-packed situations. But there's nothing like game reps. So both teams will have some new guys out there and some guys with some experience. So game one's always a little bit different. And but Toledo's a good football team. They're balanced offensively. They could run and throw. Extremely explosive a year ago. Averaged 40 points per game, and are used to winning. Defensively, again, they're not going to beat themselves. They're very sound. They know they very clearly know who they are and what they do, and they do it well.
Have you had a chance to watch game film yet on them?
Oh, of course. Oh yeah. Well, of course, Kovac. Like I said, both quarterbacks are good football players and both have some good experience. Losing their center, I'm sure, feel for that young man because he's a heck of a football player. They have to replace some wideouts. That'll be big for them, but they definitely can rely on Bryant. Kovac, he's a good football player. Rochefort darn near 1,000 yards a year ago there. But they had great balance, so I'm sure they're looking for the same thing this year.
You've always
been waiting. Go ahead. Sorry, I've been trying to get to you. Go ahead. You. Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. As young as your secondary is, do you think that Toledo's going to come out and test it right away?
I'm sure. I mean, I would think so. They do that anyway. They're aggressive. They scored over 50. I want to say at least 3 times, maybe 3 or 4 times last year. They scored over 50. So I don't think that's anything new for them. They want to mix it up, and they mix in their shots anyway. And anybody scoring that amount of points.
On your depth chart, you typically have the strong and nickels kind of alternating. What makes Ty Asian more of a nickel, and what makes George Griffin more of a strong safety?
Well, to be honest with you, those guys are interchangeable, and Jordan has more experience at the nickel. So, I'm going to look at it this week and see exactly what we go into game with. So that could all, change a little bit to the offense. It doesn't matter, whether a guy's playing low or high. Because if we're bringing that guy, which we do a lot, the guy replacing down's playing the same position as the nickel if we're coming the other way. You know what I mean? So doesn't make a difference to the offensive guys. It's just bodies and, but for us, we just got to continue to work with that and get as much experience as we can. Yeah. Yeah, Phil will be out the first 2 games due to an academic issue.
You got 4 freshmen, I think, on the 2 deep there. Are those the only guys you're going to play?
Pardon me?
4 freshmen on the depth chart. Are there more in that class that are planning to play, or kind of working?
We'll see. They're going into this week with these guys on here. Yeah.
Big Blue Nation is really excited about how the season ended last year, and of course the anticipation to start this year. And it's got to really come over onto the team too, and the players got to be excited about getting back out there. How do you keep them in check that they don't come this Saturday and the excitement takes over and they forgot to play football?
Well, that's part of what they pay me for. I'm ready to go. So it's motivation and how we handle our players on a day-to-day basis is a lot to do with it and getting them ready to go, because it's a very, very long year, but that is part of it. You could go back, and I'll use it as an example. We always, we learn the best from mistakes, a lot of times, and there's been openers here before, and we could go back to Southern Miss, and our team just overly excited, come out and play fantastic in the first half, and I think left a lot out there. Just left it there, left it in this locker room, and that's part of it, is just handling the emotions, especially guys that haven't played much. Some of the older guys that played a lot of football understand that and how to harness that and contain themselves, but guys that haven't played a lot, and we're counting on them in large roles here this week, that is part of it. Just emotionally handling it, handling the opener, just how we go through pregame and our routine, and we've already done that twice, just so it's not fresh to them when they walk out here on Saturday. But that's part of it, as you may or may not remember, but that's what I talk about all the time is I very much stay in a rhythm. I talk about the situation, and that's the situation this week. The situation is it's the opener. Playing Toledo, we're at home. It's a new season, and that's part of what we'll talk about. And then we talk about motivation, and we talk about football keys. So that's 3 things that I stay in line with every Monday.
Do you remember what your emotions were like your first game?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't really remember. I was probably holding on to my ass. Yeah. So.
Mark, you've talked before about MAC teams and how well they're coached. You feel like through the years that's gotten through to some of your players, because they put a lot of kids in the NFL just like the SEC?
Oh, definitely. It just takes watching the film. Our players know good football, and teams that put you in predicaments, put you in tough situations, and the way they execute, and that's what it comes down to. So it's not hard for our players to get their attention. No matter who we're playing, we're really worried about us and putting ourselves in the best situation to play the best football we can.
Game week, how would you grade the secondary, or is it still a little too early to tell?
We'll see. We'll be sitting in here next Monday, and I'll address it a little better. It is what it is. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to watch them play. I can't wait to see them play. I'm excited to watch our whole team play. As coaches, I think you have an idea of who you are and what your team's going to look like, but there's definitely a few more emotions with the first game, because you really just want to get out there and play and see exactly what you have.
Chris and Bossy there, Don wants to listen kind of wars and that kind of stuff. What's the thinking there?
They're both good players. They're both going to play. So we didn't feel like one deserved to be ranked ahead of the other one.
Is that with the rest of the situation there. That's pretty. Is it pretty solid? You feel pretty good otherwise. Like those guys stick out.
It is what it is. You know, I wouldn't give it to you if it didn't, you know, if we didn't want to rep it that way in practice and proceed that way in the game. You know, in the opener, we are going to have to rotate bodies. So, you know, most of these guys that are on the two deep are going to get some playing time. So they have to be ready to go.
In your mind, what's the best thing your team did during training camp?
I think they, you know, played with a good hunger and a desire to get better. They competed every day. You know, I want them to just put their head down and you know, kind of submit to what we're doing. Just buy into it. You know, walk away from the distractions. You know, there's a lot of mental preparation that goes into it during camp. They have to do a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of meetings, practice, and they just kind of have to submit. They have to be all there all the time. And I felt like there was really good focus and energy.
Mark, how is Landon Young different than he was the last time we saw him?
Landon is, you know, he's bigger, he's stronger, and more confident. He's a year older, and he looks really good. So I'm really excited for him. And as I mentioned, you know, there's a perfect example of somebody that takes a negative and turns it into a positive.
If this do you feel comfortable with Chance Poole?
Well, he hit a 56-yarder the other day at practice. So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to go for it at 56, you know what I mean? But he hit one the other day. So, we'll see. Mm-hmm.
Does it strike you that Josh Paschal's come all the way back to be your starter in week one?
You know, it's a great story. Appreciate all that you all have done to document that story and get it out there. And Josh, right away, that was part of it for him, was wanted to be very honest and very upfront and just get again, it is what it is. The story was out there, and you all did a very good job of relaying that message and getting it out there for him, just for awareness only, and also just to see, if you know anything about Josh, he doesn't do anything for attention. He just assumed, let him be, just let him play. But with this situation, he felt compelled to you know, relay that message, and so it's just it doesn't surprise me the way he's handled it at all, because he's a special young man, and you know, it's just it's really good for us. It's good for the team. You know, it's really heartwarming, really, just to see him out there, because you see the pure joy in him, just to truly be appreciative for the opportunity to be out there. And I know we all have to remind ourselves of that all the time, all of us, but he is a great example to all of us of reminding us in our program to say, hey, you better appreciate what you have and let's make the most of it.
Mark, another good story seems to be that Kenneth Forsey is 15 months after heart surgery. It's now just listed number 2 on the depth chart.
Yeah. There's no question. I mean, a very, very serious issue, and when that happened, I had no idea whether he'd play football again. And to see him battle back and go through what he's gone through is a remarkable story. Even just physically, the pain that he dealt with through his chest and where they cracked him open, and he has a pretty big scar there. We gave him a break last week during camp, and we went swimming, and you can see him walking around with a big old scar there on his chest. So he's been through an awful lot.
Been a lot of talk about your talented tight end room. Just how eager are you to see those guys get into the mix with Terry?
Yeah, you know, very, you know, group that, you know, Justin has played, you know, but the other two really hadn't played very much. So to see them next week, they're going to be one of quite a few guys. I don't know, you guys probably studied the depth chart as far as that. I didn't look at it, but there's probably quite a few guys that are going to play a significant role next week that hadn't in the past.
Mark, you mentioned Brian Kovac. If there's going to be anybody who's going to be motivated, it'll probably be him. And looking back with 2020 hindsight, do you have any regrets about how that entire transfer situation had worked out back then?
No, I think it worked out very, very smooth and seamless. And those are difficult situations, as I mentioned many times, that you have to look at each situation individually. That's why there's so much discussion about it. because everything is not always black and white. There's different issues, different circumstances with somebody's desire to transfer. So, and I think that's why you see strong opinions on that issue on both sides, because they're different.
You have a feel for your wide receiver group this year?
Pardon me?
You have a feel for your wide receiver group this year?
I think much like the tight end group, I'm excited. I'm confident in them. I'm confident in our wide receiver group, and I'm excited to watch them play. I think they've worked really hard. You've heard me talk about it through the spring, through the summer, through camp, that we need them to step up. We need to convert. If you look at us a year ago and the opportunities we had down the field, we have some opportunities. We got to convert on them. And our guys are working hard, not just at the shot plays, but just in the day-to-day and the discipline of routes. And I think the whole unit has worked hard with the quarterbacks and the receivers, tight ends, just to be more efficient.
I know you're considering putting Vince on your media restriction list, your media probation.
Yeah.
Earlier, we were talking to him about the example that the older guys, the guys that are not here anymore, set for the younger guys, showing that you can have success. How much have you seen it? How important is that, and how much have you seen of that from the young guys, following the examples of the guys who set the tone for you last year?
Well, I think it's very evident, that you see our players, as I mentioned, they, early on with the preparation for this team, back in January and February, it was evident that they did learn quite a bit. And you've heard me talk for many years about the players and being a player-led team. And we're going to work hard to help our players in all areas. In leadership is first and foremost. But at the end of the day, you got to have great leadership in that locker room. And I don't think there's any question that the 16 guys that left a great legacy in that area, where the players understand the difference between right and wrong. Doesn't mean we're perfect. We're going to make mistakes. But they are a player-led unit and are continuing to improve in that area and keep each other accountable.
Mark, this time last year you stood on the podium and you expressed your excitement to a certain level about Jordan Wright. And it appears to me like from everything I can gather that he's reached the point where you have some confidence in his play. And what kind of versatility does that give you for that position?
Yeah, I think he's definitely a guy that's earning more and more of our trust, and he had a really good camp. And he's a guy all along that we felt like had an awful lot of ability. So, it'll be really good. Obviously, he's played before, but to have him in there in a significant role early in the game, in game one, will be different for him. But I'm excited to watch him play as well.
Mark, has Terry made the progression you would have hoped for, going from a first-year starter into year two?
He has. I've been very proud of him and the work that he's put in. He's worked in all areas, and he'll have an opportunity to go out there and show that Saturday. But he can't do too much either. He's got to just play within himself. We got a lot of other people around him, and that's always going to be the case. So. The strength of our team is always going to be the team. You heard me say that a year ago. It's not just a fancy cliche. It's the truth. You got to have a good team. You're going to win as a team, and you're going to lose as individuals. So if we go out and play as individuals, we're going to lose, and that'll always be the case. This is the ultimate team sport here. We got to have all guys on the same page all the time, or you're not going to be successful.
Going towards the end of camp, were you finding some other answers on the defensive side, and guys who may be able to help you get pressure on the quarterback?
I mean, we're going to have to continue to evolve through the whole year. We're a new group defensively. There's a lot of new bodies out there. We feel like there's some strengths. I feel like, we'll see where that pressure comes from. A year ago, we had a very good combination. We had guys that could get to the quarterback with straight rushing. It may be different this year. We may need to pressure more. You just don't know what it's going to look like.
But not for all the things you said about leadership and legacy, talking about a guy like Jordan Griffin, who's stepping up for Devontae Robinson being injured, how much do you see him being a vocal leader in that secondary? And who are some other guys, besides him and Cash, that you see being other vocal leaders on defense?
Yeah, Jordan has always, he's been on our leadership council since he was a freshman, so he's used to being put in a leadership role. You see more and more of that now. Again, I think as you play and earn the respect of your players, and you'll see more and more of that as they have to find their voice, whatever way it is, to be a leader. And I like what I see so far out of Jordan. We have quite a few on the defensive side, believe it or not. That guys. T.J. Carter is a guy that's been a leader. He's quiet, but he does a lot. And Quentin Bohanna, same thing. He's a little not always vocal, but believe me, when he says things, people listen to him. And I'm excited about those guys. And DeAndre Square, same thing. He's finding his voice, but he's a guy that our team has a lot of confidence in. He does things right, works extremely hard. So it'll happen.
How do you feel that
Fortner and Kennard going into the season?
I feel very good. I feel very good about those two. I really do. I think there's a perfect example of that is those guys have to be on the same page all the time. That offensive line, they always have to be working together. There's so much communication that's involved there with those guys. So they really work hard at that. Coach Schlarman does a great job, and I'm excited about those two.
How's Lynn come along?
Yeah. Lynn's been good. It's been fun to see his growth off the field, and he's been by far the most consistent he's been through this period. And it's a tough grind there through a month of camp there, and Lynn's been very consistent and working very hard.
I haven't heard Taj Johnson's name a lot. He's on the depth chart. Where has he done since he found campus?
Yeah, he's done well. He was making a move, doing some really good things, and then he got dinged up a little bit. He missed some practice, so then he kind of, he was out for a few days, and that's an eternity during camp. You missed 3 days. It seems like a long time, but then he came back, and he's been impressive. He's getting his feet wet, moving him around a little bit, which is also hard. At that position, playing him some at corner early. We're playing him some at safety. Now moving him inside. We felt like we needed some help inside, but he gives you an athletic guy inside.
Mark Abule was in the football when he got here. How far has he come along?
He's come a long way. He's a lot like Calvin in that really works hard to do what he's asked to do. And, that there's a place for that. When you're playing those guys up front, you got to be very unselfish to play up front and on the defensive line and do what you're asked to do. And, sometimes you like loose players that are twitchy and can make things happen, sometimes by being wrong. And then there's other guys that just fundamentally constantly want to do things right and really work at their technique. And he's a guy that you're seeing grow. Coach LeBlanc's done a really good job with him and getting much better.
Mark, I know you don't like looking back, but you have to miss Josh and Benny and Mike and those guys. How much contact have you had with them over the course of this summer, this year?
Who are those guys? Yeah. Just minimal contact with them. They're doing their thing, and those all the ex-players. I mean, heck, Ed Reed I hadn't seen in years, and he came back, in the off season a year or two ago and spent a weekend here, and those guys know I love and care for them, but they're doing their thing. We're doing ours, so we'll always be here for them and support them, but I don't need to keep in contact with them all the time. They should be busy at camp right now.
Mark, you've had a number of your current players attending high school games in the area.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about that? What do you think they get out of that?
I love it. I like the fact that they going and watching some football, supporting some of these local high schools, and and getting out, I'd much rather have them doing that than doing something else. I told our team that I could promise you that when camp breaks, I said, you'll be reading some people on the ticker and you'll be reading some things in the newspaper. Let's just make sure it's not us, okay? So, to my knowledge, there's nothing out there right now. So it seems like everybody's been well behaved. So hopefully we'll keep it that way.
What do you think they get out of that? Going to watch the kids.
Oh, I just think it's good for the game. It's good for the local community, and it's good for them just to go watch ball and kind of reminisce back when maybe it was a little bit simpler for them, you know, than the grind of what we're going through right now.
You said you might watch the game Saturday, maybe. What's your review week 0?
Well, just because there wasn't a lot of games on, you know, but that game, but first of all, it was entertaining. It was fun to watch. Two good teams going at it. Obviously, like any of us coaches, I'm not getting a quote out there, but it's true. Any time in game 1, there's a lot of things to clean up, and it's what I mentioned earlier today. I mean, everybody's going to go out there and play to win, but you can't beat yourself early, and so, you know, I think you got to really focus and stress, you know, that. And for us, I do it every week. I do it every Monday. I take things from around college football and just put out a football IQ and just show them video, you know, of things that happened. And I'll pull a few from that game and several other games that were important, you know, late hits and turnovers and just things of that nature where we all coach hard to avoid, but things happen, you know, and believe me, I know we've been on other people's football IQ tests before too, so, you know, we're far from perfect, but we're going to certainly point them out to them.
How is Sawyer grasping the playbook?
He's doing a good job. Really impressed with him. Really like the way he handles himself. He's very, very poised. He makes good, quick decisions, and so I feel very confident with him.
Do you have to tell yourself anything like ahead of the game? Like, okay, I know there's going to be some sloppy kind of game 1 stuff. Keep trying to go on.
Well,
keep your cool when all that pulls
well,
at first.
I mean, that's just because you may know it's going to happen doesn't mean you're very happy with it, you know. So I can't promise you anything. No, I think you know, you're ready for the game plan, but the mission changes sometimes. You know, things happen. You have to adapt and overcome, and you know, something I'll talk to the team about. It is something you have to talk to yourself about and your coordinators. You know, we have a game plan, but things change, you know, and then you just have to keep your poise, adapt, and overcome whatever situation you're in. We had some great examples of that a year ago, you know, where it looked pretty dismal, and we stayed with it and found a way to win. So, you know, be the same way with the opener.
Last one, we had one over here.
Coach, you talked about the wide receiver growth and even the tight ends as well earlier. How has Terry kind of played into that process with that year under his belt now, and how can all 3 of those grow as the season continues?
Well, they all work together. They've worked hard, as I mentioned, getting back to the winner, with coming back and watching film, seeing areas where we need to improve, seeing in areas individually where each person needs to improve, and then they've worked hard. You know, they've worked through the summer. They're out there working when, you know, we're not allowed to be there, and they're out there holding themselves accountable and working hard and in that heat, and it's been a good camp. So we'll see how it plays out.
Okay, folks, thank you very much.
Okay.
We'll see you tomorrow.
About 5:30 in the lobby.
But yeah, 5.